But okay, so you really got like you're running in a complete like Queens cliche. One side of the family and your friends gangsters, the other side cops.
Yep.
And these are the boroughs. These are the environments that New York City cops come from. They grow up around drug dealers and Crips and uncles who are connected, and you know it's in your bones, right? Why do people become cops in New York now? Is it because it's a good government job still? Are they still considered a good job?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, that was one of the reasons that I said, like, when they asked you, like, why do you want to become a cop? I didn't say that, like, protect and serve, you know, none of that stuff. I was just like, career opportunity and benefits, you know, like, let's be honest or whatever, you know, like, it was a kind of like a quarter life crisis for me, you know what I mean? Because I was making a lot of money, you know what I mean? Like, not even like selling the weed or whatever. That sometimes would just be like supplemental or whatever. My real moneymaker was working in these mob-connected restaurants, you know, and bartending in the bars. Anybody knows Wise Guys, they throw money like it's water, you know what I mean? Everybody wants to be a big shot, you know, especially after a couple of drinks. I was on the receiving end of that. So you could be a big shot, I call you sir, boss, whatever the you want, whatever, as long as you're dropping 100, you know what I mean? One of the spots actually, you know where Joe's Pizzeria is in Williamsburg? It's like over there. Yeah, on the north side. That was a mob joint.
Wow.
A guy named Rocky used to run book out of there, sell a little dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bartended there for a little bit. I mean, there was just so many little pockets, like you said, you know, and you know, I spoke with Gene Borello about this, and we kind of ran into each other ourselves when Gene was running around in the street, you know, the strip clubs. I used to love the strip clubs. Wise Guys always hang out in the strip clubs, you know.
So do cops.
Yeah. Astoria is like the strip club capital of America. There's like so many strip clubs in Astoria, like good ones too. So at the time, whatever, you know, I used to see Gene Borello, you know, I always say, like, we didn't like weren't friends, but I knew who he was, you know, he knew where I came from for the most part.
Was he a big shot? Like, did people know him as like a trigger man, like a gangster?
Yeah. He had the reputation of a shooter, Gene, for sure. There was he'd fight you, like he says this himself or whatever, he'll fight you, but you got to know who you're going to fight with. There's guys that'll throw hands. There's guys that'll straight stab you. There is no fighting with them. It's like knives coming out, whatever, you know? Gene was a shooter. Always with a gun and shoot you.
Yeah.
It's that simple. He's not going to get a black eye. He's going to just shoot you in the stomach and keep it moving, you know?
Yeah. So when you decided to go into the force, did you have aspirations to like work narcotics, be a detective, maybe be in the DEA or the FBI?
Yes and no, but it was kind of a double-edged sword. So one of the reasons that actually, you're probably wondering how a guy can be so, because like I said, jail didn't scare me enough to stop doing what I was doing. I would still be at the card games. I was still drinking like a fish with connected people. I was around, you know, in connected bars all over Queens. There was, you know, bars, Brooklyn, Manhattan. So it was like, I knew to avoid those places if I didn't want to get in trouble. God forbid I got caught in a bust or whatever. They raided the joint, you know, I'm risking myself here, you know, for what? A couple dollars, am I gambling or whatever? So, you know, I wanted to transition into something. I just didn't know what. I had no aspirations of law enforcement whatsoever.
I know that. I'm asking, like, would you have been hesitant to take a job working narcotics in Queens, knowing you could maybe investigate people that you grew up with? Like, would you feel like that's like a conflict of interest?
1,000%. 1,000%. So when I actually got into the police department, you know, I was sworn in 2013, but I was approached in 2012. You know, I had a significant amount of connections throughout my years working in the restaurant business, you know. I mean, I'd work one party that would be FBI agents, and then the next party would be, you know, people from NYPD, and the third party would be Rise Guys. You know, it was a whole mix of people. So I had met a lot of people, made a lot of friends and stuff like that. So, you know, when I decided that I was actually gonna be a cop I was influenced by some of these detectives I saw in this bar I was hanging out in Bushwick, you know. They were real suave detectives. They were able to come and go as they please. So I was like, you know, these are not just those straight edge kind of cops or whatever. These are a little, you know, they got a little swagger to them. So I reached out to some of my connections that I had, and they were totally shocked when I said I wanted to become a cop. Everybody I reached out to, a chief, I had a hook in the chief of department's office or whatever, they were shocked. When I told them that, I kind of got ambushed. They invited me to a dinner. I would go to these dinners to network and stuff like that. It was at Romaview. It's in Howard Beach, notorious mob neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
I'm meeting 3 high echelon cops in a mob neighborhood catering hall, right? It's right next to Russo's over there. So I get there and there's a retired undercover. No, he's not retired. He's not in undercover anymore. He's in the intelligence unit now. My hook from the chief of department's office, who was a full bird inspector, and a chief from Intel. And the first thing that they told me was, what do you think about undercover work? So like ambushed me, whatever, sat me down and was just like going into all the work. We could use you. This would be great or whatever. You won't even go into the academy. You won't have a number. Nobody will know who you are. We'll just put you right out into the street or whatever. We vouch for you. We know all this. And brings me back to what you just said. I knew way too many people from so many different walks of life. I hung out in every single neighborhood. I was buying weed in Washington Heights. I'm gambling in Middle Village. You know what I mean? I'm going to a restaurant in Manhattan that has illegal shit going on in the back. It's all over me. It's all around me. You know what I mean? So I was just like, you know, I'll think about it. You know what I mean? Then they floated a different idea after they saw that I was a little hesitant. They said, all right, how about you go undercover in the police academy? Kind of weed out the corruption kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? So I was a little hesitant, but I had said, okay. So the deal was to change my appearance. So I had to put on a lot of weight, shave my beard. I got this little pencil mustache that I'm, you know what I mean? And at the last second, I said no.
So you felt like that would have been snitching.
Yeah.
You'd rather be a cop that actually like does good for the whole society and not, you know, somebody that takes down these people that you grew up with that you like.
Exactly. So it was definitely a conflict of interest, but it's also, it's a moral compass that you got. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's not the police department. All the bureaucracy. Right. Do I like you? Did I grow up with you? Did we, you know, we go to the same school? Like, do you spend Christmas with me and my family?
Yeah.
I don't give a
put you in prison. Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not that way, you know?
So did you want to be a transit cop working in the subway? Did you float that as like the next idea?
That was my first pick because like I said, I had family that, and it's wild to say that because people are like, who the f wants to be in the subway?
That's a grimy in August.
Yeah. Oh man.
When there's on garbage day.
Bro.
Dude, it's like, it's Dante's Inferno down there.
It is. It is, and the smell of piss you get you're very used to in a short amount of time.
Damn, you got to.
Man. So what happened was, like I was saying before, you know, I had, you know, some relatives or whatever who were in law enforcement already, and everybody was telling me don't do transit. You know, I had one cousin who was like, you'll like it, but then the majority of the people were like, when I had told those same upper echelon people that met with me that day, you know, when Academy Day comes and everybody gets their orders of where they want to go, everybody's waiting. So I wasn't surprised. I knew where I was going already. I told them transit. They did me the favor. They put me in transit. So I knew I didn't get a pick of which transit, but I was going to be in that bureau. You know what I mean? So once you're in the bureau, you're good. So they put me in the in transit bureau, and then I guess I kind of in the beginning was like, damn, like it's hot. It was summertime, like you said or whatever. So like you're kind of overwhelmed or whatever, you know what I mean? Once you get down there, but it was the place I wanted to be. And my first week or whatever, I saw something crazy, like ridiculously right out of the gate. Old lady going to church on a Sunday, violently pushed down the stairs. Didn't even know that she was pushed down the stairs. Okay, so we get a call, right? Call comes over the radio, lady falls down the stairs, right? So we happen to be there. We were maybe a stop away, actually. We get off the train, we go there. The lady's in the scorpion position, kind of like this, at the bottom of the stairway. As she's at that bottom of the stairway, I go over, her nose and mouth were here on this side of her face. She's talking to me like this. I'm like, blood everywhere, big pile of blood. You know fresh blood? It's real rich and dark and red. That was like my first foray into see that much blood. She was in a puddle. It looked like she got shot or something. So I was like, she was conscious though, which was weird. And ambulance came. I was like, what happened? You know, do you remember? She's like, I think I fell. You know, they winded up, like you were saying, or whatever, who goes and investigates all that stuff.
Check the cameras, right?
The detectives check. She was pushed, bro. Wow. No reason at all. Pushed, slid down the stairs on her face. That's why it was all smushed to the side. When the ambulance picked her up, her face went over like this, like a flap, like whoop, whoop. This is like my second or third day on the job in transit.
And that's one of the dangers when you being in NY and just passing literally millions of humans every day, somebody's going to be in a bad mood.
Right.
And you can't control if randomly somebody just found out he was getting cheated on or lost his job or he bet his entire life savings on the horses and lost. And yeah, you might be an old lady walking down the subway stairs at the wrong time, right? Or standing, God forbid, in front of the subway, which you saw too. You saw somebody get pushed onto the tracks.
That wasn't even, I mean, the lady, that was just my entry into the system. I mean, okay, it gets crazier. So,
are you uniformed at the beginning?
At this time, I'm uniformed.
Okay.
Yeah, when I first got out, I was uniformed. Everybody is, unless you're actually, like I was saying before, in that specialized unit or something, and you already put your time in. Then they'll let you go your detective route because you already, went that way. So, so same thing. I'm in uniform, and the brutal things that you see in the train are the people getting pushed in front of the train or people getting hit by a train. It's like nothing you've ever seen or experienced. I mean, one story really sticks out. Well, there's a few stories, but like one that sticks out, whatever, was, so this guy was drunk, okay? We're at Jamaica Center. A lot of things happen in Jamaica Center, Parsons Archer. It's a hotbed for crime. You name the crime, criminal activity, crazy people, it's just, that's where it goes down.
Jamaica, Queens. It'll never be gentrified.
I doubt it. No. I doubt it. It's a tough area still, especially the South Side, it's a tough area still to this day. So, that being said or whatever, right? There's a guy, he got into a beef with a guy or whatever. It looks like they were arguing, We saw the argument or whatever, but it was just words at this point. It wasn't really to the point where it was going to be anything. We're like, hey, come on, you go your way, you go, we're just trying to do this. And it looked like it was going to be okay. Like, me and my partner, we turn around to walk away, and you hear the scuffle when you turn around. Jamaica Center is the last stop before the trains go to the train yard to get cleaned and serviced. So you don't see that train coming out of the tunnel. You have no idea that it's coming from that direction. You think it's coming from this direction. The guy pushes him as they're fighting. We turn around as he pushes them. The train speeding into the stop hits him in the face. This guy does a 360 in the air. It like swiped his upper part of his body here, like shoulder face. I watched this. Boom! Smacked him. He did like a 360 in the air and hit the pavement. The other guy was so scared after that happened.
But he didn't fall onto the tracks.
He didn't fall onto the tracks, but his force of that train, what it did to his body, was like if a giant came and just went like a Hulk and just threw him. He was like, boom.
Did you ever witness like the aftermath of somebody jumping in front of a train?
Yeah, a few times. Yeah. The leg. So on the 7 line, the leg fell down from the street, from the elevated subway right onto the street. Yeah.
No, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So for people who don't know, the 7 line is the purple line, and when it goes into Queens from Manhattan, it goes above ground. So it's on those. It's the big famous scene in every New York movie. It's going above the neighborhoods.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. It runs through. So it starts in Long Island City, and then it runs through all the neighborhoods: Sunnyside, Jackson Heights, Corona, Woodside.
So was it a jumper or someone got pushed?
So, well, I'll give you 2 stories. Whatever, all right. So one time, this was, I think it was on 82nd Street, Jackson Heights. 2 guys had gotten into a fight. Okay, these guys were South American gangbangers. You know how it goes. They don't give a the cops. They don't care about anything. It's on. They don't
care about life.
It's on site. If I see you and you're from a different hood or body or whatever they call it, right? So these 2 gang members had a beef. They see each other in the thing. Shootout right there in the train. I wasn't there. I responded to it. I wasn't there.
Shootout in the train
station right there. It's on video. It's on. Somebody put it on Instagram or YouTube. It's actually on video. This is what I'm talking about, so you can find it. They're 2 like short Hispanic guys. One's wearing like a Knicks jersey, I think, and you see he was dead. He got shot right in the head. Bam, bam, bam. Shot right there. At this same station, it was like a hotbed for activity. There was always stuff going on there as well, because you had downstairs, you have all those neighborhoods with Colombian, Ecuadorian, Mexican, and a lot of them are gang members. You know what I mean? So they fight over just petty. Like, you're wearing the wrong ink, like LA style here, you know how it is. So, in that same station, there was I'm not sure if this was a scuffle. I'm not sure. I don't want to misquote on it or whatever, but something happened, traffic, somebody pushed or whatever. Guy falls in the train. Gets run right when the train's coming, boom, run over. His leg pops like this down the tracks and falls down to the street below. We had to go his leg and stuff. Yeah, the guys are sending me pictures. Yeah, the guys are sending me pictures. The blood's still leaking down on all the cars. Sunroof open.
What kind of shoe was the guy wearing? Do you remember?
I don't know. It's probably, who knows? It's probably, it's in the picture. Or whatever. I'll find it.
Hopefully it's not some knockoffs.
Yeah.
Hopefully he died with some dignity.
Some J feet.
Dude, I always think about that because people are jumping in front of the train all the time. It's like a common New York City way to kill yourself.
Yeah.
But it seems like one of the most painful ways to go. Like, that's not an instant death.
That's not an instant death. No,
There's no
angled. This is better though. There's something that we call space cases. You know what a space case is?
No.
Okay. This is kind of actually brutal. So
compared to the last story.
Right?
Elementary school right there.
Yeah, this is a precursor. So let's say you get pushed or you jump in front of the train and you don't die. What happens? You get caught between the train and the platform. There's only one way to get you out of there. We call emergency service unit, ESU. They come and they bring something, it's like an airbag. They call it an airbag. They put it right next to you and they blow the train back. It's the only thing to rock the train off the track. So it goes like this so you can get in.
Yeah.
The only problem is that you're mangled in there. So as soon as they do that, your insides fall out.
Of course.
Your body just, bleh.
Yeah.
So there's been times, I haven't seen it personally or whatever, but there was a guy that I work with who he actually had to make this call. Call your loved ones. Yeah, tell them you're going to die. Yeah.
Literally, because
you're gonna die. Because once ESU comes and does that, your inside's gonna fall out. So once you're mangled in there, you're alive. But we don't know just because you're like
the train's
this,
keeping you alive right now.
As soon as we separate, you're going to die. So make your last wishes and phone calls and all that kind of shit. Yeah. Yeah.
That's, I mean, God, you gotta be glad you never had to do that. Because that's
I've seen space cases. I've seen them. You know, but I've seen them get mangled, and still alive, and then they die after. I haven't made the phone call to do the last wishes thing.
Are they shrieking in pain?
Sometimes people are in shock, complete shock, like wide open or whatever, like this, and then other time, there should be video of this too. It was a Spanish guy, ponytail, in Manhattan, and I haven't seen this really in other boroughs. In Manhattan, because of the way that the tracks are aligned, there's gates that come out and go back. They retract every time the train comes close, so nobody falls in between.
Right.
It looks like he got stuck in between that. So when the gate came back, it kind of crushed him, and it was a brutal thing to see.
Do you think
he died?
Do you think most of those people did it on purpose?
Yes and no.
I know some people. There's horror stories.
You have to.
People get
so immediately. There's an investigation done. Like immediately, the second that you put over a man under, and a man under constitutes anyone that's under the train or comes into contact with the train. It's like a little loophole they got there. If you come into contact with the train, if the train conductor says, I hit a person or whatever, immediately there has to be a complete investigation, even if the guy walks away from it.
Right.
So they'll determine what happened. So if the case was, in that case, that the guy fell, there was nobody to pursue. But people get pushed all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
I want to like tap civilians. You know, you never talk to strangers in New York, right? I know the rules, but when I see a white girl at a stop, at the 2 stop in Crown Heights, not exactly gentrifying, yes, but it gets ugly after 10 p.m. Trust me.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time out there, and she's on her iPad. She's waiting for the train on her iPad with her headphones in, looking down 2 feet from the tracks. I want to be like, I want to push you on GP and then pull you back up just so you don't forget. Like, have some responsibility for your surroundings, for your personal safety. It's
zero street smarts. And the phone, these things, they make it even worse, bro. Even myself, I'm guilty sometimes. You know, I have excellent situational awareness, but I even find myself getting caught in the phone. So can you imagine someone, like you said, from the Midwest that has no street smarts whatsoever and comes to New York City? They are a prime target, and they get hit all the time.
Okay, so tell us about some of that crime done against transplants, we call them out there. Like, did you see that? Like the phone swiping when you first joined the force, iPhones were starting to become ubiquitous everywhere.
Yeah.
Was that a hustle, like snatching phones, or what were some of the main crimes you saw when you first got on the force?
That was big. The phone snatcher thing was huge. I mean, you know, I saw that more when I got into the plainclothes unit, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but just like uniform patrol, what you're experiencing is something like you've never seen before. You know what I mean? Because you're not riding the subway as a normal civilian. Me, I was a little numb to it because I was on the trains as a New Yorker already. I understand, but you got to take action now. You don't just mind your own business like you normally do and just keep it going. You know what I mean? So you put yourself into situations sometimes that you really don't want to put yourself in, but it's inevitable. So a lot of the things that I would say was that's really, really rampant is abuse, like sexual touching and all that stuff. And I'm not just forcible touching. I'm not talking just forcible touching, which is subway's crowded. I rub my thing on you because I'm a little close. So, you know, we swipe each other. Now I'm talking about like deviant, violent stuff. I had a girl one time. She came up to me, 14th Street, me and my partner. We weren't working in Manhattan at this time. We had come upstairs just to get some air. I don't know where we were passing through or whatever. She comes up to us, complete shock. White girl from the Midwest, just like you were saying, transplant or whatever, complete shock. It's like, what happened? She's like, I think I was like touched, whatever. So long story short, we get into it. She wasn't only touched, the guy rolled up her skirt. She was in shock, didn't know what to do. She froze, rolled up her skirt and put his fingers in her. Put his fingers in her. Right midday Manhattan, 14th Street on the train. And kept going.
Yeah.
You know,
stayed on the train.
She ran away. The guy kept going on the train. So when she came up, I mean, you know, we obviously made the report, sent her to proper authorities. But she's like, go get him. Like, aren't you going to get him? Like, what? I'm like, miss, this guy could be in Jersey by now. You know what I mean? Like, how long ago? She's like, 5 minutes ago. I was like, the train, you know, you're 14th Street. Like, he just hops off. He goes to Port Authority. He's gone, you know?
Wow.
Now,
when that happens, could you like identify, because obviously that's got to be on camera, right? Unless
there's no cameras inside the train cars.
Okay, hold on. Off. Are you serious?
Back then there wasn't. No, zero. I don't know if there's any now. I don't think so. No.
Okay, so
there's no cameras inside the train cars. There's only cameras inside the stations.
Okay, so you could get robbed, groped, beat up on the train
on the actual
as it's
train.
moving.
Correct.
And it's not filmed.
Correct.
I don't think anybody actually realizes that, because everybody thinks they're on video all of the time when they're in New York, 24/7. How do they not have cameras on the train cars? That's just insane to me.
When I was a cop, there was no, and I only retired in 22.
Yeah.
There was no subway cameras on the train.
Is
costs
that
too much money to equip every single car? I don't think the city would even float that idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just to put one CCTV at the back of the car? I don't know, but
there might be one CCTV at the back of the car, but that's one cart. There's how many carts in the whole thing? They're not going to put one in each one. They won't do it. They'll put one where the conductor is, maybe, you know, stuff like that. But they're not going to put one in every single cart.
Okay, so crime will never go away in the subway then.
When they put the cameras, but even so, like, you see the cameras everywhere. It's not really deterring crime, though. You think it is? I mean, I don't know. If you're a criminal and you're a Lush worker, or you're somebody that's going to rob or grope or do your thing on the train, you don't. Some of these guys Instagram their crimes now. They record themselves, so they don't give a shit about the camera. It's not going to deter them. They're going to do what they got to do. You know. So
the Lush workers. This is another fascinating thing. These are gangs that specify in robbing like passed out people or sleeping people on the train, right? Yeah. Tell us about them.
So, you know, most of these Lush workers, they're older. It's very rare that you'll find a young one, but they're just basically opportunistic. And there's groups of them that work together. You know, they'll give each other heads up or whatever. They'll stay at certain stops. But sometimes they're lone wolf operations. So what they'll do is the reason we call them Lush. Obviously, they'll go after drunk passengers or maybe somebody sleeping on the train. It's not always drunk. You know, you got a long shift at work or whatever. You're coming home, 7 line, you're coming from Manhattan all the way to Flush. That's a long ride.
Of course.
You're going to fall asleep maybe. You know, I'm guilty of it. I've closed my eyes on the train. I don't know if you ever have been there, but these rides get long sometimes. So, you know, they would prey on the people coming out of work or the clubs and drunk, and they would fall asleep. They'd have razor blades. They would take the razor blades and, unsuspecting to the victim, cut their pockets open.
Wow.
Or their belongings. Like, let's say a girl had a pocketbook or something. The bottom of a pocketbook would be sliced open. They would take everything out: the credit cards, the IDs, the phone, all that stuff. I mean, it was hilarious sometimes because even in uniform, you knew that somebody just got hit by a Lush worker. The guy's pockets are all cut up, and he's like looking around like, what the? Like, yeah.
Wow.
Man. And these guys are so good. They don't even wake you. These people don't even know what happened to them. They're so good. Sitting there, chiseling away your pockets, you don't even feel it.
And they're probably old school junkies, right?
A lot of them, yeah. A lot of them are old school. So they're used to New York in the 80s, those old school, like Jimmy and Locks, and they're real slick characters.
Right,
you know?
right.
Arrest records taller than you.
Right, for sure. Yeah, right? God, I imagine like you bust some of those guys, there's no way they remember how many times they've been to jail.
Can't even. Like you don't even want to look at their rap sheet when you go to. It's hilarious when you got to arrest one of them because you go to hit the button on the print report or whatever, and you'll see the thing at the bottom. It's like 100 pages. You're like, God,
load paper.
Yeah,
load paper.
It's like you got to just sit there. It's like, yo, when's your first arrest?
Yeah.
Like, 1980. Like it's like, holy. You've been doing this whole time?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those guys, you know, and then there's the more violent ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when it gets to another degree. You know, those guys are a little harmless with the cutting and stuff like that. Maybe they'll run away if you catch them. Sometimes they'll fight you, but most of the time they'll run away. But the violence, and you know what the violence is masked a lot of times as in the subway system? The dancers.
No.
Showtime! You know, hey, Showtime, let's go. You know those guys?
Yeah, they get on and they put the little boom box.
Those guys are all perps. All of them are. Some of them are legit hardcore perps.
Really?
Yeah, and they're strong too, you know? They're all fucking muscled up from swinging on those poles.
Yeah.
Some of them are little, you know, real skinny, 120-pound punks. But, you know, some of them are like grown men who are from the, you know, they spend years in prison or whatever. They're used to bar workouts and activity, and they come
They
on
got
the subway.
brolic,
They get brolic. So the charge itself for somebody dancing on the subway is reckless endangerment. Still a really good collar, but
Oh, really? So that's a crime.
that's a crime. Yeah, that's a big crime.
Because they're on there all the time,
yeah.
and nobody even bats an eye. Like everybody's just coming back from work, reading a book, and you got some little black kids doing monkey bars on the pedestrian poles.
There's a long list of crimes and prohibited behavior in the MTA. Technically, you're not even allowed to eat on a subway car. It's like stupid shit that they put. But one of the crimes they do take serious is the dancing because it's reckless endangerment. You can hurt the public by doing this stupid. They take it a step further, though, these guys. They put the hat in the face. If you don't give them anything, they might sock you. They might punch you right in the mouth. Now you just escalated to an assault. Some of them, if they, you know, see that you're weak and they can run over you or whatever, and we've got calls for this all the time. What happened? I got robbed by the dancers. Yeah, it was like they beat me up. I wouldn't give them any money, so they can beat me up. Yeah, so it's all a show until they want the money, and then they just take it from you.
And what percentage? I know it's impossible to say the exact percentage, but how many of these crimes are actually solved?
I mean, you'll have to look at the reports, man, to be honest with you, because if you are not, you've seen the show, The First 48, whatever, you know, it applies to the same thing when you're dealing with those initial street crimes. It doesn't have to be murder. But if you don't catch that guy on the scene, I got a male Hispanic, 5'9", black hair, brown eyes, light skin, running down Roosevelt Avenue, and then he just disappeared. Like, you know, if you're not catching him then, if you're not getting an accurate description or know who he is or some kind of camera footage, you're not getting those guys.
And there's not enough manpower or time
to even look through all that.
To go through the footage, even if he's on camera.
The only way that I've seen that they'll do that is if it makes the news. Or it's something highly publicized that they'll put the best detectives on it or something like that to show that they're doing something, you know?
Right. So I guess, do they tell you specifically, like, only these crimes and up?
Yeah.
Are we going to go actually pull the CCTV footage and try to match it?
No, they didn't say things like that. They won't say things like that. But if the crime is violent, let's say, most likely you'll have somebody follow up on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it's something a little less and it's happening more frequent, like, hey, I got my cell phone stolen and the guy pushed me down. Did you hurt? No, I'm okay, but he pushed me or whatever. So it's a harassment and a grand larceny, whatever.
We're not going to take the time.
We're looking for aggravated assault, murders. The guy's notorious for pushing people in the subway. Stuff like that.
But like, yeah, so if somebody got punched by one of the dancers and they ran off,
dancer ran off?
Yeah, the dancers ran off. I know that. Would actually somebody from the NYPD go to that stops CCTV? I mean, because by the time
a simple assault,
because by the time you pull the footage, you already got 5 more calls.
Right.
So it's just volume. So you have to decide what's important enough to follow up with and what's just simply not.
No, 1,000%.